morning, everyone. I would invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to leave your hymnal on the chair. We have some very special music for gathering this morning. It was written by one of our very own congregants and a member of our community of writers, Lori Reese, who is mortified that I'm saying this to all of you. And therefore, you don't know this one, so we're going to teach it to you. So don't worry, repeat after me. We'll go line by line. I'll feed you the words as we go. You'll pick it up right away, I'm sure. So line by line, this is I Want to Know Who You Are by our very own Lori Reese. Repeat after me, please. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. Just like the first line. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. So easy enough. Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. Let's try that much. Allison will give us a little intro. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. Excellent. Let's learn the refrain. I'll go first. When you're not here with me, when you're not here with me, we're not really apart. We're not really apart. For when I know who you are, for when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. You're safe in my heart. Fabulous. When you're not here with me, we're not really apart. For when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. Let's try that much, starting with when you're not here with me. And one. When you're not here with me, we're not really apart. For when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. From the beginning, will you tell me? Will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? I want to know. I want to know who you are. When you're not here. When you're not here with me, we're not really apart. For when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. Will you tell me your story? Will you tell me your story? Tell me what you believe. Tell me what you believe. Will you tell me? Will you tell me your story? Tell me what you believe. Tell me what you believe. When you're not here. When you're not here with me, we're not really apart. For when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. Will you tell me? Will you tell me your story? Tell me what are your dreams? Tell me what are your dreams? Will you tell me your story? Tell me what are your dreams? Tell me what are your dreams? When you're not here with me, we're not really apart. For when I know who you are, you're safe in my heart. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Lori. Please be seated.
Good morning. Dear friends, whether you are watching online right now this Sunday morning or sometime later, or you have found your way into a seat in the sanctuary, welcome. I welcome you each and all to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. Your presence keeps this faith tradition alive. It is a faith community that has been evolving for the past 159 years. It is a faith that centers love and has held up the values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, even if articulated in different ways with different language for many, many decades. If showing up on a Sunday morning is a relatively new experience for you, I invite you to a newcomer welcome, held right after the service if you're here in person, just outside these doors, up a little bit, and on the left in the Redmond room. Someone will be there to help answer your questions about this congregation and about Unitarian Universalism. If you are watching online and you're new to us, please introduce yourself in the chat so we can welcome you virtually. And consider filling out a survey, UUAA.org/newcomer survey, so we can better connect with you. I'm Reverend Theresa Rohlck, the Minister of Pastoral Care for this congregation. I have been part of this congregation only since January of 2010. And when I think about all the history here, all that has come before me, I sometimes wonder, what if these walls could talk? And the walls of all the previous buildings we have called our home. Just imagine the stories from all those years, stories built from words. And if you are new here, you will learn very quickly that words and language matter deeply to Unitarian Universalists. Sometimes a single word is a cause for great concern. And I agree, words are important. Much of my job revolves around words. And we put our words together to create stories. And as Lori's song said, will you tell me your story? I want to know who you are. And once we really know someone's story, it's much easier to show understanding, compassion, empathy. It's much easier to work cooperatively, even knowing we don't necessarily think alike. In July and August, our worship theme is exploring. Today we will explore personal stories offered by members of UUAA's community of writers. We will explore what it means to worship together, what it means to truly gather in community. I offer words now for centering by the UU minister, poet, a naturalist humanist, Kenneth Patton, who pursued many creative endeavors but was particularly creative in the use of words and language. This piece is called Let Us Worship. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the faces of our siblings. We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, and the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, and the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions. Let us worship, not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love.
Reverend Theresa has just reminded us that our words are powerful. The words we speak, the words we write, the words we sing, they have the power to welcome, to comfort, to teach, to inspire. We use them to tell our stories, to help us make sense of the world around us and to make sense of ourselves, to communicate to the world who we are. We do this not only in our words, but also in our actions and in our symbols. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and each week we make time in our service to communally kindle this flame. What does the flaming chalice say to you, both in this space and when we encounter it in the world, on a stranger's keychain in the gym, on a bumper sticker on the road, or pinned to the lapel of a jacket at the farmer's market? Each week, we use words to remind ourselves of what we intend this chalice to symbolize. And each week, we have an opportunity to carry the light of this chalice beyond these walls and to be that symbol for the world in our words and in our deeds. Today, I would like to invite Anne Ramsey and Kathy Friedrichs to join us on the chancel to light the chalice. As Anne and Kathy light our chalice here in the sanctuary, we invite our online community to light a chalice of your own, perhaps sharing in the chat the chalice is lit and from where you're joining us. Remembering the power of our words, will you please join me as we speak together our chalice lighting words? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Kathy. Words can indeed be a powerful tool for uplift and for inspiration. But as we know all too well, in the wrong hands, any tool can become a weapon. No matter how many times we're told that sticks and stones may break our bones, we know that words have always had the power to hurt us. And we know that love will always have the power to heal us. Our covenant exists to remind us of the commitment we have made and weekly renew with one another to always strive to dwell together in peace and to lift each other up. Let us join together in speaking the words of our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
I've never thought of myself as a writer before. A reader? Yes. A teacher? Sure. A lover of words and language? Absolutely. But a writer? Writers keep journals. Writers jot down ideas in notepads. Writers put words on paper regularly. Writers write for a living, right? You see what I did there? As I have come to learn, those are pretty narrow definitions of what it actually means to be a writer. Writers communicate ideas, they convey thoughts and emotions. Writers entertain, writers educate, writers offer guidance, writers empathize, writers make us laugh and cry. Being a religious professional brings with it many gifts, and I am so grateful for all of them. But perhaps most especially, the opportunity I've been given to engage in writing for worship. It's become an essential spiritual practice for me because, much like life, writing is a maddening, frustrating endeavor, requiring vast amounts of patience and self-compassion. Every now and then, I'll come up with my hook just like that, and the words will flow easily. But most often, I find myself waiting and waiting and waiting some more until finally that moment of inspiration hits late on Saturday night. In both cases, I come away feeling a deep sense of humility and gratitude for that flow when it finally gets you. Every time I write for worship, I learn something about myself. I grow. Our story for all ages this morning celebrates the building blocks of all writing, words. Big and small, simple and complex, every word is a gift. And when we put them all together, that's when the real magic happens. It turns out we're all writers. The Word Collector, written and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. Collectors collect things. Some people collect stamps. Some people collect coins. Others collect rocks. Some collect art. Some collect bugs. Others collect baseball cards. Some people collect comic books. And Jerome, what did he collect? Jerome collected words. Wonder. He collected words he heard. Certain words caught his attention. My trip to Peru was perfectly pleasant. He collected words he saw. Certain words jumped out at him. Willow. He collected words he read. Certain words popped off the page. Emerald. Short and sweet words, spark, bloom, drift, dream. Two-syllable treats, treasure, motif, whisper, candid, hover, glimmer. And multi-syllable words that sounded like little songs. Guacamole, kaleidoscope, wonderful, geometry, symphony. There were words he did not know the meaning of at first, but they were marvelous to say. Aromatic, vociferous, effervescent. There were words whose sounds were perfectly suited to their meaning. Tyrannosaurus rex, molasses, torrential, smudge, bellow. Jerome filled his scrapbooks with more and more of his favorite words. Jerome's collections grew. He began organizing them. Dreamy, science, sad, action, poetic. One day, while transporting them, Jerome slipped and his words went flying. As he began to pick them up, he noticed his collections had become jumbled. Big words next to little words, sad words next to dreamy words. Jerome began stringing words together. Whisper, symphony, electric, peace. Words he had not imagined being side by side. Savor, dreams, cascading stars. He used his words to write poems. He used his poems to make songs. They moved, they delighted. Some of his simplest words were his most powerful. I understand. I'm sorry. Thank you. You matter. Jerome eagerly collected more and more of his favorite words: gaggle, bohemian, bungalow, onomatopoeia, molecule, waterfall, brilliance, vision, infinite, hugs, love, brother, light, spice, thanks. The more words he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world what he was thinking, feeling, and dreaming. One breezy afternoon, Jerome climbed the highest hill, pulling a wagon packed with his word collection. He smiled as he emptied his collection of words into the wind. He saw children in the valley below, scurrying about, collecting words from the breeze. Jerome had no words to describe how happy that made him. Reach for your own words. Tell the world who you are and how you will make it better. The end. And now is the time in our service when we sing to our children as they head to their programs. I invite all of our young people of all ages to follow Dusty and me to the Foz Chapel as the congregation sings with love and tenderness.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
Today's service is featuring voices from 5 members of the community of writers. The group would like to dedicate their readings and this service to the memory of 2 beloved members, fellow writers who have recently died. Arden Malberg, who died on June 4th, and Pauline Lowenhart, who died on July 1st. Their presence will be missed, but their spirits live on in their words and stories.
I'm Ann RAMSEY, and I've been a member of the community of writers almost since the beginning. It's been in existence since 2015. We are based on the premise that everyone is a writer. We welcome every level of experience, from none to those who are published authors. We take turns through the year picking prompts. During our meetings, we read writings to a prompt and offer positive feedback. All genres of writing are welcome. There's nothing magical. There is something magical. That was a little magic right there. Something magical which happens in community. We meet monthly on the 3rd Sunday of the month from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. During July and August, we meet on Zoom. The rest of the months, we have a hybrid meeting in the UUAA building. Today, there will be a table in the social hall staffed by Community of Writers members where you may sign up to be on our email list. You may pick up a sampling of writings. Today, we'll be reading writings which reflect on our spiritual journey. Writing offers a chance to capture a moment in time and then be able to go back and reflect, a chance to change your mind about that moment. My spiritual journey has me moving from dogma to a search for truth. I heard someone's story and wove it into mine. This poem was inspired by a story told by Ann Arborite Rupal Shah of her pilgrimage made in India in 2017. This pilgrimage took Rupal 4.5 weeks to walk 500 miles, circumnavigating part of the Narmada River. Legend has it that when the Ganges wants to bathe, she goes to the Narmada. This is pilgrimage. How far? Why? 500 miles along one of the 7 sacred rivers of India, white robes of a pilgrim, a prayer to the river she would come to no harm. Her backpack and her faith, the river would provide. Looking for answers, like me, looking for answers. The distance between Cleveland and New York. What did she see? Mud-clad feet, flip-flop and Nike-clad feet, water buffaloes, Rolls Royces, tigers and sacred cows, a dark night sky filled with stars and galaxies. The samosa shop, a free meal and a bed. The sons of the owner washed her feet. Why, she asked. It is what the river does. We are but its vehicle. It is our honor. What are our sacred rivers? Our first people knew. Missouri, Mississippi, Yukon, Rio Grande, St. Lawrence, Arkansas, Colorado. 3 times the size of India. Let us have 21 sacred rivers. What have we done to them? I choose the Yukon's clear water, watched over by stars, moon, sun. First peoples made this land feel newer. What would I see? This land with 1 billion less people than the road RuPaul walked. Unhoused, rural, urban, poverty, wealth, butcher shops, yoga students, glaciers and bears. Would I be safe? Would I be brave? Would the river watch over me, see the love in my heart, not judge the hearts of my ancestors? Would I have the faith that the answers would be true? Could I let the river watch over me, have that much faith? My life has been a pilgrimage. Why am I here? Walking between Barbie doll houses and abandoned cars, books about philosophy, books about Mars. I still have more questions. If kindness matters, why is there such strife? Is there enough time to forgive the sins of the past, my ancestors and mine? As I get closer to the end of my journey, maybe the truth lies not in the answers, but in the question. Maybe we are the answer to ourselves and to each other.
I'm Kathy Friedrichs. When I retired about 10 years ago, writing became a way for me to explore my connection with the larger world and how I fit into it. At first, it was the natural world that opened me up. I found I loved writing poems. They centered me in the moment. More recently, I've been delving into my family roots and relationships, which have been very meaningful. Here's a poem from this period. In my hands. My foremothers were women sustained by work. They knit sweaters, kneaded bread, held rosaries, praying to a fierce Catholic God. Great-Grandma May's husband died in 1914. She transformed her home into a rooming house, cooked stews for strangers. Granny Sarah's calloused farmer hands gathered table crumbs to bake cakes during the Depression. Grandma Jerry jumped into Lake Superior fully clothed, pulling her son to safety. My mother, Mary Alice's manicured, age-spotted hands, buried 2 husbands, raised 4 kids. In my hands, I see my Grandma Jerry's bent, crooked fingers, knobby, swollen knuckles, veins like ropey vines weaving through the forest floor. My hands dig in the earth, bring forth small miracles like carrots and kale. Like my foremothers, I believe in a strong cup of tea, in Upper Peninsula fortitude, in offering a helping hand, in getting up again and again.
I am not a scientist, but I pretend to be one when writing poetry. My poems express the anger, frustration, and sadness that I feel as I confront the awful truths revealed by science in the year of 2024. The poem that I'll read today reflects this anger, frustration, and sadness. This poem is entitled, "The Three Men I Admire Most." These three men are Carl Sagan, Brian Greene, and Steven Weinberg. Carl Sagan is well known to many of us for his Cosmos TV series of 1980. Brian Greene is a professor of physics at Columbia University and is the author of a recent book entitled Until the End of Time. Steven Weinberg was a Nobel Prize-winning physicist. In 1977, he once wrote, "The more the universe seems comprehensible, the more it also seems pointless." And I must confess that in my poem, I borrow some lyrics from the classic song, "American Pie" by Don McLean. The three men I admire most, the Weinberg, Sagan, and Brian Greene, they caught the last train for the coast. I know, I'm shamefully stealing lyrics while I'm driving my Chevy to the levee. The Weinberg, Sagan, and Brian Greene, arriving at the coast, they sing to us their songs, but their lyrics are upsetting. The audience becomes distraught. All we ask for is some happy news. Carl Sagan told us we are not the reason for the universe, but he taught us how to wonder. Soon after, he grew old and died, leaving us in loneliness. Brian Greene forecasts the end of all there is, the cosmic death. Everything simply stops. In darkness, in utter cold, in a billion trillion years. This will be the day the music dies. Steven Weinberg dreamt of final theories, physical law explaining all there is. The stars, our thoughts, our life, our death. Mathematical equations of quantum fields of time and space, devoid of human purpose, devoid of human meaning. So bye, Miss American Pie. As we are arrested, can we only passively resist? The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. Oops, I'm stealing lyrics. Sorry.
Thank you all. I collect things, probably too many things, but like Jerome in our story, I also love to collect words that I put together for you on Sundays. But today I thought you might help me out and give me a few words. What words come to mind when I say it is time in our liturgy for the offering? Money. Thank you, that's a good one. Support. Building. Generosity. Gratitude. Community. Opportunity. Caring. Those are all wonderful, and indeed, all of those fit into this spot in the service, especially the money part. But this is the time that we exercise our muscles of generosity, knowing that the programs and ministries of this congregation happen because of your financial gifts. And of course, because of all your gifts of time and your talents. All of it is important and lets us do the work we need to be doing. Now, there are many ways to give. You may text UUAA to 73256. You can go online, uuaa.org/giving, or you can put cash or checks in the baskets. Now, if you are brand new to us, your gift today is your presence here, and we are happy that you are here. It's okay to let the baskets pass you by. I invite the ushers to come forward now, as today's offering is gratefully given and received. Thank you. Thank you, Edward and Allison. Our deepest gratitude for the gift of music you bring to us. Will the ushers come forward now, and as you rise in body or in spirit, and as we recognize with gratitude the gifts we have collected today, join me as we say the words of dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may have a seat.
I'm Dan Carleton, in case you don't know me. Many of you do, but probably many of you don't. But I've been writing poetry since I was 8 years old. Fortunately, a lot of that has not survived. My mother was a lover of poetry, and she read it to me as a child, frequently at night. She was a concert pianist, and all of the family simply lived lives that derive meaning from the arts. She simply communicated to me and both of my sisters how important it was to write our stories as part of learning who we are. All three of us children have followed her, and I have encouraged my children to follow the arts with some success. 42. Long and Winding Road by Lennon and McCartney. I can't get that song out of my head as I trudge and often stumble along the gritty, damp, and wind-blown shoulder of Michigan Highway 51 on a chilly afternoon. A few notes down the winding road, I come upon another dead animal, more a road pizza than a squirrel corpse. As I deploy my custom writing stool, wind threatens to knock me down, but I manage to stay up and commit a haiku. Flattened into the gritty grime of the pavement lies a dead squirrel. Poem over, stool folded and hung on the backpack. I trudge on down the long and winding road, damn that song anyway, seeking more fodder for poetry and basic truths. Let me explain. Upon retiring from manufacturing, I decided to spend my remaining time on this planet in search of some basic truths. But what basic truths? Searching for the basic truths sort of requires knowing where to start, which requires a search of some kind. So here I am wandering the back roads of America, stopping at whatever looks like it may hold some basic truth that I see on said roads and writing about it in my notebook. This includes roadkill, discarded bags of fast food wrappers, broken car parts, fallen tree limbs, and lonely little plants growing out of cracks in the asphalt, along with other unusual detritus. Thus, I believe that the basic truths will be revealed to me through writing about the mundane and unusual things I encounter, which of course leads me to another question: is there truth in a road-killed squirrel? A short trudge down the shoulder of the highway brings me to another candidate for said truth, a completely intact plastic bumper cover from some post-2000 automobile. Is its color significant? The model of car, the smear of mud on one corner. I sit on the writing stool and think. This hiatus is not unwelcome, as the damp of the shoulder has been working its evil cold into my boots and my sore knee is starting to throb a bit with every step. I pull the notebook and write. Damp and cloying afternoon cold seeks my feet as I contemplate the dignity of the intact bumper cover. Its maroon shine in contrast to the smear of mud sticking to the surface of the maroon bend. Beyond the maroon perfection, the sky has grayed, predicting a chilly night ahead. I am sad. I am alone. After an uncomfortable night in my sleeping bag in a copse of trees, I break fast on my last Cliff Bar and set out into the growing autumn morning, past miles of cornfields, moving briskly to get loosened up and warm. The rising sun at my back highlights a lone, huge maple tree rising above the cornfield, and it is so striking that I deploy the poetry stool and write. Majestic, just beginning to lose its chlorophyll colors and shift into flavonoids and carotenoids, the distant maple standing boldly in the corn is just autumn spectacular on this misty morning. I pack up and start back down the highway, still hoping for basic truth and having perhaps just witnessed it. The search for truth will continue for all of us.
Oh, I see it's your birthday today. The surgeon said this to me when he was checking my age on the computer. Then he swiveled his chair, faced me, took a breath, and said, "You have cancer. You have breast cancer." I turned 40 years old that day. That was 23 years ago. And "Happy birthday, you have cancer" was the beginning of a chapter in a story that I would need to write and want to share. After I finished surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, I composed a letter to my family and friends telling them about my daughter, 9 years old, having too much fun shaving my head when I started losing hair. 3.5-year-old Billy calling it breast cancer, and Paul, 7 years old, running up to the playground supervisor at recess to report that my mom doesn't have cancer anymore. She's still bald, but she doesn't have cancer anymore. For several years, as my 3 children were growing up, I wrote songs and dialogue for a musical play I titled "Shifting Gears," about 5 women in a breast cancer support group. Much of it a memoir, much of it therapy. I plonked on the acoustic piano, then to the electric piano, singing, crying, recording, and then to my sticky notes on the wall, my husband and kids tolerating my creative process and endless replaying of songs. My favorite memory of writing this musical was hearing my son Paul singing to himself in the basement. Picture a 10-year-old boy fussing with chords while he's getting his video game ready. He is distractedly singing one of my songs. Again, 10-year-old boy. I don't feel pretty anymore. I don't feel pretty anymore. My boobs used to be a very nice size. Now I'm only big in my butt and my thighs. Yeah. I knew then that no matter what changes were made in that play, that song was gonna stay. I often feel compelled to write when I'm experiencing heightened emotions or feelings. The 2016 election created some kind of sorrow in me I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. I sobbed like I had never cried before. Healing only began during the holidays when I rewrote the lines to Clement Clark Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas, starting with, "'Twas the night of the election, and all through the house, millennial adults took their turns to grouse." In the middle, "Oh, Carlos, my student, a citizen, yes, whose mother is not. Oh, what a mess. Will Black Lives Matter as KKK rises? Will Fox News reporters earn Pulitzer Prizes? What happens to LGBTQ? Will marriage survive in states that aren't blue?" And eventually ending with, "Democracy challenged as ever we've seen. 'Twas the night of the election, 2016. That was 8 years ago. I couldn't fathom the kind of Roe v. Wade turnabout that we've seen. This year, I'm really trying to be hopeful, and I've written a new mantra: democracy challenged but will be restored on November 5th, 2024. Let's hope. For many of us, writing is therapeutic. It's no wonder that writing in a journal is so often recommended. For me, it can be cathartic. If I write about an experience, it's out there and no longer in here, which can be a good thing. I can see it in a new perspective. I might share something I've created with the community of writers, or I'll post on Facebook, send an email, blog, or have a reading or a production. Sometimes something I've written really resonates with someone, and they will reach out to commiserate, celebrate, or contemplate with me. That's when writing and sharing is quite rewarding. It's fun, it's healing, it's spiritual.
Lori just highlighted that her writing is rewarding, fun, and spiritual when she shares what she has written. All of the readers today took the risk of sharing their words in public, of being highly vulnerable in the telling of their own stories. In doing so, they gave us a gift. We now know each of them in a deeper way than we did an hour ago. At a service in August of 2015 that focused on poetry, I was still a pretty new congregant who was interested in worship and liturgy, and I had the privilege of creating a service that summer with other poets. And it delights me to this day that the writers group, now known as Community of Writers, grew out of that service and has been going strong for close to 10 years. That service was a transformative moment for me. The reflection I shared was titled, "Because Each Word is a Story." And that was something I just recalled this morning. I shared how poetry can help us deeply connect with someone, and I related a personal story and a poem about wearing an article of clothing of someone beloved to us who has died. After that service, someone told me how much my words meant to them. The words I had collected and put in a particular order that Sunday morning meant something to someone. And it made that person feel less alone in their grief. And I remember that conversation to this day. And that did it for me. I figured if my words are making a difference in people's lives, maybe I should learn more about what I'm doing, about this thing that I was just beginning to figure out was my calling to ministry. My spiritual practice of writing takes the shape of this, what I'm doing right now, sharing the words that I have written for worship, knowing that my words might impact you, and that's a great deal of responsibility comes with that. So now, do you each have a piece of paper and a pencil? If not, you can kind of wave your hands. The ushers will bring one by. And if you're at home, if you could just find a scrap of paper to write on. Now, in a moment, we'll write a word or several if you're inspired. And I want you to know up front that you're going to share the word and that I would like to collect the papers when we're done. Now, of course, you do not have to turn in your paper. It is up to you, but I would love to collect all these words. So take a moment now just to think of a word you have collected in your life. Online folks do the same and write it down. It can be a favorite word, a meaningful word, a fun word. It doesn't have to be in English. Okay? So just take a moment. Think of a word and write it. Okay, thank you. So now we'll have just a few moments for this next part. And online folks, if you can find the chat box, and if you want to participate, you can. If so, type into the chat your word and maybe give us a sentence or two of why you chose that particular word. For you in person, I'm going to ask you to share your word with someone or two or three of those sitting nearby you, preferably not the person you came in with today. See if you can talk to someone new. I'd like you to share your word and the story that's behind it. Why that word? What does that mean to you? Okay, everybody good on that? All right, let's take a few moments for that. Share the word. Dear friends, that was your cue. I am just delighted that there's so much sharing of these stories, and I really hate to cut it off. But I encourage you to continue to share those stories. Did you learn a piece of someone's story? Did they learn yours? Are you connected now in a way that's different than it was 15 minutes ago? I certainly hope so. And I'm going to ask that you will put these papers with the words in one of the baskets when you leave. I really would like to collect them all, and I'm going to make a word cloud that I'll share with you, and then we'll find out how many of you maybe have the same word or what interesting other words there are. So, thank you for engaging in that. Our closing hymn is 379, and if you turn to that, you'll see it's just a tiny paragraph of words written by Kenneth Patton. And we will sing those words to the tune of 372. So you'll catch the tune. You don't need to worry. Just look at the words at 379, and we'll sing that 3 times through. Okay? Be the poems of all tongues, all things of loveliness and worth, all arts, all ages, and all songs, one life, one beauty on the earth. Be the poems of all tongues, all things of loveliness. I'm going to ask each of the readers who read today to give me a word. A word. The word you used earlier. What? Welcome. Resist. Choices. Periwinkle. Shine. Dear friends, in the days and weeks ahead, I hope you go out into this world and continue to collect new words, perhaps when you are wandering through a field and you see periwinkles and the sun is shining. May you know that the choices you make matter. May you resist the things that are against what you hold deeply as your own values. And may you continue to offer radical welcome to all of those around you. Continue to connect with each other, share your stories. Someone might surprise you with their own story. Go in peace, go in love. Amen, and may it be so.